The night was soft with city lights, but inside the quiet home of Keanu Reeves there was something different in the air. The date was special. It was Angelina Jolie's birthday. Though she had no idea what he was planning, Keanu had been working, for days in silence, carefully shaping a moment she would never forget. The story begins with the sound of rain on glass. Keanu sat by the window, watching the drops race each other down the pane. He thought of her smile, the way her laughter could light up even the darkest places. He knew people around the world celebrated her on this day. But he wanted to do something that was not about the cameras, not about the spotlight. He wanted to give her something only a heart could give. At the same time, Angelina was across town. Her children had surprised her with small cakes and candles earlier, and the warmth of their love wrapped around her. But when the night quieted, she felt an emptiness she could not name. Birthdays had always been complicated for her. Sometimes they brought joy. Sometimes they reminded her of years gone by, of struggles faced in silence, of wounds the world could not see. She thought of the times she had been strong for others, when no one had asked if she was tired. Keanu felt the same silence in his own way. He knew the weight of loneliness, the shadow of loss, the ache of private battles carried beneath a calm face. Perhaps that was why he understood her without words. Their connection was not built on gossip or Hollywood rumors. It was built on shared humanity, on the rare recognition that two souls could mirror each other's scars. As the rain deepened, Keanu placed a simple wooden box on the table. He had carved it himself, each line imperfect but real. Inside was a letter he had written by hand. Not typed, not rehearsed. Every stroke carried his sincerity. He wrote about resilience, about kindness, about how Angelina had used her fame not only for art, but for compassion. He wrote about the orphanages she had visited, the children she had held, the way her spirit refused to be caged by pain. But he also wrote about her quiet strength as a woman. Not the strength the world demanded, but the kind that wakes you up in the morning when your heart feels heavy. He told her that he saw her, not just the actress, not just the activist, but the human being who deserved to be celebrated for simply existing. While he sealed the letter with care, a question lingered in his mind. Would this gesture mean something to her, or would it be lost in the noise of her public life? He had no answer. He only knew he had to try. Later that evening, Angelina's phone buzzed. The message was short, almost shy. "Can you come outside for a moment?" Her heart skipped. She pulled a shawl around her shoulders and stepped into the night. The street was empty, except for Keanu standing under the dim glow of a streetlight. He wasn't holding flowers or diamonds or anything the tabloids might expect. Instead, he held out the wooden box. She looked at him, confused yet touched. "What is this?" He smiled softly, almost uncertain. "Just something I thought you should have." She opened it slowly. Her fingers brushed against the letter, the texture of real ink on paper. Her eyes scanned the words, and for a moment, her breath caught. The world seemed to quiet around her, the rain softening into a distant song. The letter spoke to places in her heart no one had reached in years. It wasn't about her fame, her beauty, or her career. It was about her soul. Tears welled in her eyes, unguarded and raw. She lifted her gaze to him, and in that silence there was more truth than 1,000 speeches could hold. Keanu's voice was gentle. "Happy birthday, Angelina. You deserve to be reminded of the light you give, even when you don't see it. Yourself." She held the letter close as if it was the most precious gift she had ever been given. And in that moment, a bond formed that neither of them had expected. It wasn't the bond of romance, nor of friendship defined by shallow words. It was something deeper. Two lives marked by resilience, finding comfort in knowing they were not alone. But just as the night felt safe, something unexpected stirred in the shadows. Across the street, a camera clicked. Neither of them noticed. Yet that sound would soon change everything. The quiet birthday gift was no longer private. The world was about to see, and with it, storms they never imagined were on their way. The morning after Angelina's birthday began with sunlight spilling through her curtains, soft and golden. She held Keanu's letter close to her chest, the paper slightly wrinkled from how tightly she had clutched it in her sleep. Her heart was calmer, yet filled with questions she could not answer. Why had his words touched her so deeply? Why did it feel like he had seen a part of her that no one else had dared to notice? While she sat quietly, her phone buzzed again. This time it was not a gentle message. It was a storm waiting to break. Headlines had already started spreading across the internet. Keanu Reeves and Angelina Jolie spotted at midnight meeting. Mystery box exchanged. What does it mean? Paparazzi photos showed them standing under the streetlight. Her face softened by tears, his hand holding out the wooden box. The world, hungry for stories, twisted the moment into scandal. Rumors of secret romance, hidden messages, and wild theories filled the digital space before Angelina had even had breakfast. She sighed, placing the phone face down on the table. She knew the price of living in the spotlight. Every private moment was never truly hers. But this felt different. This wasn't a movie premiere or a charity gala. This was a gift that had been meant for her heart alone. Now it was being torn apart for clicks and gossip. Across the city, Keanu faced the same storm. Reporters waited outside his home, their voices sharp, their questions relentless. He stayed quiet, calm as always, but inside he felt a weight pressing down. He had wanted to give Angelina something pure, something untouched by the noise of the world. Now the world had taken it, but instead of retreating, he made a decision. He sent her a message. Don't let them steal the meaning. Meet me tonight. I'll explain everything. Angelina hesitated before replying. Her life had been full of promises broken, of words that meant less than they sounded. Yet something about Keanu's voice, steady, respectful, humble, felt different. She typed back. Where, that night, when the city buzzed louder than usual, they met again. This time, in a small corner cafe far from Hollywood's eyes. The place smelled of fresh coffee and warm bread. The walls were filled with photographs of travelers, strangers smiling in black and white frames. No one looked at them. No one asked for pictures. For once, they were just two people sharing a table. Keanu leaned forward, his eyes steady. I never meant for that night to become a headline. I just wanted you to know how much I respect you. Not the actress, not the image the world sees, but you, the human being. Angelina stared into her cup, her fingers tracing the rim. Do you know what it's like to give pieces of yourself to the world and still feel unseen? She whispered. Sometimes I wonder if anyone actually knows me. Keanu's voice softened. I do. Maybe not every detail, but I know what it's like to carry loneliness in a crowded room. I know what it feels like to smile for the world while grieving in silence. You don't have to explain it to me. I've lived it too. His words sank into her like water into dry earth. She remembered the tragedies he had faced, the way he had lost loved ones, the way he had endured pain without ever letting bitterness take root. In him, she saw not just kindness but resilience shaped by fire. As the cafe grew quieter, their conversation deepened. They spoke of children, of art, of moments when life had tried to break them but failed. Angelina told him about the nights she stayed awake worrying if she was a good enough mother. Keanu admitted that sometimes, despite the fame, he still felt like a wanderer searching for home. Their voices carried no pretense, no masks, only truth. But just as peace began to settle, a phone rang. Angelina answered. It was her manager, frantic. We have a problem. The tabloids aren't just spreading photos now, they're spinning stories about you too. And sponsors are calling, worried about your reputation. They want a statement, fast. Angelina's hand trembled slightly as she ended the call. Keanu watched her carefully. They'll try to control the story, he said quietly. But we don't have to let them. Her eyes lifted, searching his face. What if the truth makes things harder? He gave her a small, calm smile. Sometimes the truth is the only thing that can set you free. Outside, the rain had returned, tapping gently against the cafe windows. And with it came a sense that this was no longer just about a birthday gift. This was about two souls standing at the edge of something larger, something that could either heal them or break them completely. As they left the cafe together, a single thought stayed with both of them. The world might twist their story, but maybe, just maybe, they could write their own version of it. One built not on rumors, but on the quiet power of honesty. The days that followed felt like a storm that would not rest. Every newspaper, every gossip site, every late-night talk show had something to say about Keanu and Angelina. Some called it a secret romance, others a publicity stunt. Strangers, who knew nothing of their hearts, spoke as though they owned the truth. Angelina tried to keep calm for her children. She smiled at breakfast, helped with homework, and read bedtime stories. But inside, the noise was unbearable. She had worked for years to build a life where her children felt safe, where her work in the world was not overshadowed by rumors. Yet now every step outside her door came with flashing cameras and invasive questions. One evening, as she tucked in her youngest, he asked softly, "Mom, why are people saying things about you and Mr. Keanu?" His innocent eyes carried confusion, not judgment. Angelina's heart broke. She wanted to shield him from the cruelty of the world, but there was no easy way. She kissed his forehead and whispered, "Sometimes people make stories because they don't know the truth. What matters is that you know who I really am." At the same time, Keanu was facing his own battles. His team urged him to issue a press statement, something to calm the storm, but he refused to let polished words speak for him. He had built his life on quiet actions, not rehearsed lines, and he believed Angelina deserved more than a public defense written for cameras, so he made a choice. One evening he arrived at her home, not with a team, not with guards, but alone. He wore a simple jacket, his hands carrying nothing but a folded notebook. When she opened the door, surprise flickered across her face. "You shouldn't be here," she said softly. "The cameras, let them see," he interrupted gently. "I don't care about their stories. I care about ours." They sat together in her living room, the glow of a single lamp casting shadows around them. Angelina looked weary, her shoulders heavy with the weight of judgment. Keanu opened the notebook and placed it on the table. Inside were pages of his thoughts written during sleepless nights. "These are letters I never planned to share," he explained. "Things I wrote when life felt too heavy, when I needed to remind myself that light still existed. I want you to read them." Her fingers traced the pages. Each letter spoke of grief, of quiet moments of joy, of lessons carved by loss. She read about how he sat alone in cafes, listening to strangers laugh, finding comfort in the fact that life moved on. She read about the kindness of strangers, the small miracles of everyday life that gave him strength to keep going. Tears gathered in her eyes. "You've carried so much," she whispered. Keanu looked at her gently. "So have you. Maybe that's why I see you the way I do. You've turned your pain into something bigger, something that helps the world. But I also see the part of you that longs to be seen not as a symbol, not as a name, but simply as Angelina." For a long moment, silence filled the room. It wasn't empty. It was full of understanding, of unspoken truths. But then the doorbell rang. Angelina's manager stepped in, her voice urgent. "You two need to understand. This situation is exploding. Brands are threatening to cut ties, charities are worried about their image. You have to either deny everything or confirm something. Staying silent is not an option." The words cut deep. Angelina felt trapped between two worlds. The one where her heart longed for honesty, and the one where her reputation and her work demanded caution. She looked at Keanu, torn. He spoke calmly but firmly. "Sometimes silence isn't weakness. Sometimes it's strength. Maybe the world doesn't deserve an answer yet. Maybe all they need to see is that we aren't ashamed to stand here side by side." Angelina's chest rose and fell with unease. But when she looked at him, something inside her steadied. For once, she wasn't standing alone in the fire. Still, the path ahead was uncertain. The media would not stop. Her charities could suffer, her children could be hurt, and yet the thought of letting fear dictate her life felt like another kind of prison. That night, after Keanu left, Angelina sat in the quiet of her home. She looked at his notebook, her fingers brushing over the words he had trusted her with. And in her heart, a decision began to form. A decision that could change everything. The night was heavy with silence, but inside Angelina's home her mind would not rest. She sat near the window with Keanu's notebook on her lap, the pages alive with his thoughts. Every word carried the weight of someone who had endured storms and still found reasons to keep walking. She felt her own scars mirror his, like two broken mirrors reflecting the same light. Yet outside her walls the world grew louder. The next morning headlines sharpened. Angelina Jolie caught in secret midnight meetings with Keanu Reeves. What are they hiding? Photographs showed her front gate with his figure leaving in the shadows. Speculation burned hotter, and the pressure on her charities and projects was growing unbearable. At breakfast, one of her older children placed a newspaper on the table, frowning. "Mom, do you really have to answer them?" His voice carried more maturity than his age, but the pain in it was clear. Angelina hugged him tightly. "Sometimes the world is unfair," she whispered, "but the truth is bigger than their noise." Still, her own voice wavered. Later that day, her manager arrived again, papers in hand. "Listen, Angelina, this is bigger than gossip now. Sponsors want public statements. The board of your foundation is nervous. They want clarity. If you and Keanu don't act, you risk losing years of work." Angelina's hands trembled as she held the papers. It was not about money. It was about children, depending on her. About lives she had vowed to protect. How could she let her personal life risk their futures? When Keanu came to see her that evening, he found her in the garden staring at the fading sun. She turned to him, her face shadowed with doubt. "Keanu, what if being close to you costs everything I've built? What if I lose the ability to help people because of this noise?" He listened quietly, then spoke with calm certainty. "You've spent your life giving to others, but you deserve to keep something for yourself too. The world will always find reasons to judge. If it wasn't this, it would be something else. The question is, are we going to live by their story or our own?" She searched his face, torn between fear and longing. "What if I choose wrong?" Keanu's gaze held hers steady. "Then we'll face it together." For the first time in days, she let herself breathe. Yet fate had its own twist waiting. That night, a video appeared online, grainy but powerful. It showed them together in the cafe, leaning close, their conversation blurred but intimate. The caption read, "Proof of secret romance. Keanu and Angelina's private meeting exposed." Within hours, the clip went viral. Her phone buzzed nonstop with calls. Statements were demanded. Critics shouted. Fans argued. But inside the chaos, something unexpected happened. Strangers from around the world began posting messages of support. Let them be human. They both deserve peace. Why can't kindness be the headline? For every rumor, a wave of compassion began to rise. Angelina scrolled through the messages, tears filling her eyes. She whispered to herself, maybe the world is not all cruel. Keanu, seeing the same tide online, sent her a simple message. When the storm grows, sometimes it also clears the sky. Still, the battle was not over. Powerful voices in the industry wanted silence, wanted denial. And now the choice lay in their hands. Would they bow to pressure and bury the truth? Or would they stand, even if it cost them everything? The next morning, Angelina called Keanu. Her voice was firm, steady in a way it had not been before. "Meet me tonight. It's time we decide together." And as the sun set, both of them prepared for a decision that could reshape not just their lives, but the way the world saw them. The night they agreed to meet carried a strange stillness, as if the city itself was holding its breath. Angelina chose a quiet rooftop above an old theater, far from cameras, far from curious eyes. The air smelled faintly of rain, and the glow of streetlights below shimmered like fireflies. Keanu arrived without guards, without fanfare, his steps calm as always. When their eyes met, there was no need for greetings. The weight of unspoken words hung between them. Angelina broke the silence first. "I don't want to hide anymore. But I'm afraid. I fought too long for my work, for the children, for my family. I can't let it all be destroyed. Keanu walked closer, his voice steady, almost a whisper. You're afraid of losing the good you've built. I understand. But Angelina, sometimes hiding doesn't protect. It only steals from you. The truth doesn't have to be loud. It just has to be lived. She studied his face in the dim light. His calmness wasn't an act. It was the kind of peace earned only by someone who had already survived life's hardest blows. How do you stay so certain? She asked softly. His answer was quiet, almost like a confession. Because I've lost enough to know that the only thing worse than being misunderstood is living a life that isn't yours. Her chest tightened. She knew he was right. Yet the decision still scared her. Suddenly, a gust of wind swept across the rooftop, carrying with it the echo of sirens from below. It reminded her of how fragile everything was, how quickly moments could be taken away. She stepped closer to him, her eyes wet but unwavering. Then we choose honesty, she whispered. Together. Keanu's eyes softened. He nodded, no hesitation. The next morning, the world awoke to something no one expected. Angelina released a letter to the public, handwritten, photographed simply, no glossy press release. In it, she spoke of humanity, of how people often confuse kindness with romance, privacy with secrecy. She admitted that Keanu had given her a gift, something the cameras could never understand, respect and truth in a world that often demanded masks. She didn't confirm a romance nor deny it. She only said, sometimes two people meet in the middle of their brokenness, and in that space, they find peace. The letter spread like wildfire. Critics didn't know how to twist it. Fans wept reading it. The media, hungry for drama, had nothing sharp to hold on to. And for once, the story became about something deeper. That evening, Angelina sat with Keanu in her garden, away from the screens, the noise, the endless questions. The air was warm, fireflies glowing among the plants. She leaned back, exhausted but lighter. I thought telling the truth would feel like losing, she admitted. But instead, it feels like breathing. Keanu smiled gently, pouring her tea into a small cup. That's what honesty does. It frees you, even if the world doesn't understand. You know who you are, and that's enough. But their peace did not last long. As twilight deepened, her phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't reporters or managers. It was a private number. When she answered, a voice whispered, "Be careful." Someone close. "Do you want to use this story against you? The storm isn't over." Her heart froze. She looked at Keanu, fear flickering in her eyes. He placed his hand over hers. "Then we face it. No matter who tries to break us, we don't run." And in that moment, Angelina realized the truth. This was no longer just about surviving the noise. This was about standing in the fire together, even if the flames burned higher. The warning call stayed in Angelina's mind long after the voice had gone silent. She lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling, wondering who would want to hurt her through this story. She had faced critics before. She had stood against judgment, but this felt different. This felt personal. The next day, she met Keanu in a quiet park, where children's laughter floated in the air and the trees shielded them from curious eyes. She told him about the call. His expression didn't change much, but his silence spoke volumes. After a long pause, he said softly, "Sometimes the people closest to us are pressured by the world outside. Fear can twist even good hearts." Angelina looked down at her hands. "I don't want to doubt the people I trust." "You don't have to doubt them," he replied. "You just have to stand firm in yourself. That way, even if someone tries to turn the story against you, you'll already know your truth." His words wrapped around her like calm water over fire. She nodded slowly, realizing that fear only had power if she let it. Days turned into weeks, and slowly the storm began to soften. Instead of scandal, the world started speaking about resilience, about the power of honesty. Fans wrote letters of support. Mothers shared how Angelina's courage gave them strength to face gossip in their own small towns. Men and women told Keanu that his calm dignity reminded them not to give up when life felt heavy. The very moment that was meant to break them began to inspire others. But the biggest change was quieter, more private. Angelina found herself laughing, again not for cameras, not for appearances, but real laughter that came from deep within. Keanu noticed it during their walks. He didn't say anything. He only smiled, knowing that her healing was more important than any headline. One evening, as they sat watching the sunset melt into the horizon, Angelina turned to him. "You know," she said softly, "I never thought a birthday could change my life. I thought it would just be another reminder of time passing. But you gave me something I'll never forget. Not the letter, not the words, but the reminder that I don't have to carry everything alone." Keanu looked at her, his eyes steady, filled with quiet kindness. "That's all I wanted you to know. You're not alone. None of us are." The world would continue to speculate. There would always be whispers, always questions. But in that moment, the noise felt distant. What mattered was the simple truth. Two people had met in the middle of their brokenness, and together they had chosen honesty over fear, kindness over silence. As the last light of day faded, Angelina smiled, her voice almost a whisper. "Thank you, Keanu, not just for that night, but for reminding me of who I am." He returned her smile, calm as ever. "And thank you for reminding me that even in a noisy world, quiet moments can still change everything." The story that began with a gift under the rain ended not with scandal or defeat, but with strength. Their journey had shown that even in the harshest light, respect, humility, resilience, and kindness could outshine every shadow.